I often think back of the many ideas which are intended to have a certain effect in Star Citizen. A great example could be the use of ground vehicles. Right now, in almost any case, you have no need for a hoverbike or an armored personnel carrier. There can be few exceptions, of course. It is just simpler to use a ship and land close to your location, or even use the ship itself to take out your mission objectives if possible. I am not saying that there is no use for them, but rather we are faster and can get closer with our ships to finish the task. This does not mean always, but most of the time. I am sure there is someone who actively very often uses ground vehicles, and I do want to note that these vehicles can be useful, offering you better chances of surviving, staying in a vehicle and using the turret or attached weapon to take on hostiles, while there are also storage and medical options to an extent which can be great things to support you. Or maybe you are a loot goblin and want to throw everything at the back of your vehicle. Of course, most of these things are supported by ships or specific types of ships to assist you, but ships might not get everywhere, as there are plenty of AA defenses which deny certain area access. In many cases, vehicles also require a gunner or someone else to fill another role on that machine. This makes certain single-person vehicles more appealing, as a solo player can use them and require no additional assistance from other players for their maximum performance. This does not mean that all of the vehicles are for combat. Some may just be transport which have armor or weapons attached to them. While many vehicles can remain less popular, not only because of their required crew members, but other limitations like the size of the vehicles, which can limit their transport only to specific types of ships. There have been two main ideas of how we could be forced to use vehicles. Older and most obvious, of course, is the anti-air weapons or systems defending locations or take on the possibly lethal defenses. Another has been the weather effects, which could force us to land and take the ground approach. This has been mentioned several times over the past few years. Thus far, there has not really been any major weather effects or other anomalies which could be impactful for us or towards us. Neither have all the weather effects been implemented, so any additions here could change how we need to use our vehicles and what approach we should take. I think they could actually have another nifty approach, the NPC ground vehicles, which they would actively use, perhaps in some tight canyon, forcing us to take the ground approach and fight against the Nova tank or something else interesting. Outer perimeter being patrolled or controlled by the AA vehicles which deny approach from the air, and so this would require a combined assault from the ground followed up by the air, which could be very unique and play out in a very nifty way. We already have the facilities, and it is enough of a reason to use the ground approach vehicle. But could it be a proper raid or a dungeon, with coordination and actual intent to take some rare resources or unique weapons, similar to the contested zones, thus providing dungeon-like content or high-risk, high-reward content for Star Citizen? I do believe it was stated that the road systems would have some NPCs using vehicles on them, having patrols or convoys driving between different locations like bunkers and cities, and we would be allowed to engage with them. This would surely give a lot of life to the many different locations, since they all pretty much stand alone, and accessing even relatively close by locations can take a while with some ground vehicles. I have done that before, I know what I'm talking about. So it is very likely that there won't be NPC vehicles put to use before there are actual roads or road systems between locations, so we could feel actual life going on in the verse. There has been ship combat and first-person gameplay from the start, but almost no vehicle-on-vehicle action, except when players take each other on, but these are specific and special case scenarios. Who knows how long it will be before we see the actual need for ground vehicles. Right now, they will remain more or less useful depending on the content. I still hope to see progress here, but not anytime soon. Even though ground approach with a vehicle has not been that popular, there are still many who do it, and many who enjoy it. In most cases, I don't bother with it, but there have been times when I wish I had a hoverbike with me. And the almighty Pulse pretty much fits in every ship that has space. Anyway, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.